So I'm going to walk you through how I went from feeling disabled to becoming an athlete. So I'm Dr. Ray Peralta, physical therapist, exercise physiologist, run coach, and Marine veteran. And over the past 10 years, I've helped hundreds of people, including veterans, rehab injuries, overcome pain, and get back in shape. And I'm going to share how I went from thinking I need to apply for total disability, right? That I have to be, or apply for unemployment that I would be able to work, to able to finish a marathon with virtually minimal pain. All right, so here's this four-step framework I followed, and now I teach to help what I use to rebuild my own body and return to life as an athlete, but also how I help others because as a physical therapist. So as of 2019, over 350,000 veterans or were receiving TDIU benefits, right? That's that total disability individual unemployability. Many felt like just like I did, I'm sure, right? Feeling broken, hopeless, and sidelined by pain. Right. I actually, when I left the Marine Corps, I was actually medically discharged. Right. They gave me, and not just physically, right. It was also like psychologically too. I felt broken. Right. So I was medically discharged, diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, back pain, knee pain. Right. And this chronic back and knee pain was so bad that I couldn't even run a mile without my knee locking up. And then mentally, right, I was getting depressed, having like suicidal thoughts. And I was just even afraid of going back to lifting, right? Because anytime I tried like doing deadlifts and things, it would leave me sidelined for weeks. Where I'm like, oh man, I feel like I threw out my back. I'd have to rest an entire month, and then I would go back to it. And it's like this boom bust cycle. Where I would try to lift, then I'd get hurt again, having to reach for painkillers. And I was even afraid of not being able to hold down a job because a lot of the jobs I was applying to, they had like a lifting requirement, right? You had to be able to lift 50 pounds. I'm like, man, I could probably do it for one day, but I wasn't able to sustain that effort multiple days in a row without feeling I was going to be, worn out or broken down or just had to recover because my back was hurting me so much. And then just feeling like anxious and depressed that my body felt weak and powerless, right? The weight of like, oh, now I'm having to go back to my mom's house, feeling like I didn't have a mission after discharge, right? I didn't feel like, man, what am I going to do? At some points, I actually did thought about ending my own life. I just like, I don't have a purpose anymore. My body's broken. Didn't feel like I could perform to the same ability I used to. I went from a guy who was able to, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was able to like ace the physical fitness test, the PFT. I was able to, run like 6 minutes for 3 miles, do an 8 minute 3 mile run, hit 20 plus pull-ups, crank out a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups. But now it was like, man, I could barely finish a mile because of the knee pain. And then I ended up taking up drinking and smoking because I was feeling like depressed and there's nothing else for me to do. I'm like, might as well just drink and smoke, right? However, I got tired of feeling weak. I got tired of feeling like the victim. So one day what I ended up doing was kind of writing down like, what do I want in life? What do I want to achieve? And then I started like, hey, I want to get healthy again. I want to, reclaim my health, reclaim my discipline, right? Just rebuild my body because I was tired of feeling like I was only in my 20s at the time too. I was like, man, why am I feeling like I'm 90 years old? Like I barely move. Like, why am I feeling like I'm disabled? I'm like, is there really no hope for me? Like, is this chronic back and knee pain going to be the rest of my life? And so this takes me to the four-step framework that I followed to rebuild my body, right? So the first step was finding purpose, because after that medical discharge after the Marine Corps, I felt aimless. So, I got a journal. I was starting writing down like, hey, what do I want to, what's going to be my next mission? And then again, for me, it was to rebuild my health and to help serve others to reclaim their health as well, which ended up giving me a direction to go into. I got to work as a personal trainer, right? I started, and then that personal trainer job like segued to me becoming a physical therapist, or exercise physiologist, and then a physical therapist. And now I'm doing like a hybrid approach of being a physical therapist and a coach to help others. Step number 2, right? Strength and mobility training. So while I was in that, refining my purpose, my mission, I then started incorporating strength and mobility training, right? Started finding ways to help myself because the traditional medical system, I saw the doctors who I saw in my neighborhood and also when I was in the military, they were just telling me, okay, take these pain pills and take it easy. There wasn't really any real guidance, right? I didn't even know that there was a way to actually rebuild the body. I thought that, hey, I was just gonna have this injury and that was gonna be it, right? That there's nothing else for me to do. But luckily for me, I found a type of physical therapy method called the McKenzie method, which ended up involving specific exercises that I could use to, move and mobilize my back. And I was actually surprised it actually worked in just a few months. I'm like, oh, this back pain is like pretty much gone. And the same thing with the knees, right? Specific rehab exercises, and it was specific to my type of injury. You just can't, do random exercises. Before that, I was trying random exercises, going like, okay, let me go YouTube or Google random exercises, and that stuff. It was hit or miss. Like, okay, it kind of worked, but it didn't because it wasn't really tailored to me until I started doing specific exercises for my specific injury. And then, so yeah, working with a physical therapist with that McKenzie method really helped, play wonders for me. And that kind of inspired me to go into the field of physical therapy, right? So don't just train harder, right? Train smarter, right? Don't be, just fall into this trap of like doing random rehab exercises thinking it's going to work. So step 3, diet. I also cut out processed junk foods, right? The standard American diet. See, the junk food was also keeping me inflamed and in pain. A lot of people don't know this, but what you eat can also influencing your pain and inflammation of the body, right? It's not just weight gain. It's also actually literally cause like joint pain. Like for me, I'm sensitive to gluten and nightshades. So eating too much, I don't know, what they put in the American bread, whatever. But anyways, eating too much of that stuff, and it was also processed, right? Fried foods and whatnot. I noticed that, hey, my knees would hurt a bit more, my back would be stiffer. And once I transitioned into more plant-based whole foods, essentially like vegetarian, more plants, fruits and veggies, it helped to reduce inflammation. And I actually started to move better, right? I noticed I got more flexibility back. I could like touch my toes. I could do a squat better. And yes, it was combined with the strength and mobility training. It wasn't the diet alone, but the diet definitely did play a big part. Because I noticed when I would slip up and start having a bunch of junk food again, I'd get all inflamed. Even my throat would be sore and stuff. It was pretty wild how much of a connection there was. And a lot of people don't connect food and pain, right? They think about food and energy or food and weight gain or weight loss, but a lot of people don't connect the food and pain connection. And then number 4 is sleep. I used to think sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night was normal. I thought, hey, that's part of the hustle culture. It's a badge of honor. But then I realized it was just keeping me sleep deprived. I was just tired all the time, fatigued. And then getting at least 7 hours a night of sleep actually helped to just, make me feel better, more energy. I was able to, tackle my mobility and strength workouts better. I was able to stick with my nutrition because when I was sleep deprived, I also tend to slip up, right? I'd like start making mistakes. When I was sleep deprived, I'm like, oh, let me go have that donut and double bacon cheeseburger and a milkshake. Not saying I'd never have those things, but now I just do it in moderation, right? I don't, go overboard. And with the sleep really helped me stay mentally sharp so I'm not slipping up and making mistakes. And rest is also when the body heals, right? When you're constantly sleep deprived, it's going to be hard for you to heal from like an injury. So sleeping is definitely a vital thing. So by rebuilding with these 4 steps, I went from thinking I'd never be able to work or train again to be able to run a marathon, do heavy deadlifts, squats without fear, and coaching other veterans to reclaim their health and discipline. So I'm very grateful for the journey and, being able to become a doctor of physical therapy so I could help others. And if you're a veteran who's stuck in pain or frustration, hear me. You're not broken. You're not done. You just need the right system. And if you're, looking for additional help, find me on Instagram, comment the word reboot. I'm actually running a 5-day free fitness challenge to reclaim discipline. And I'm also giving away $5,000 in scholarship to my premium one-to-one coaching. And there's also partial scholarship opportunities for people who go through the 5-day free challenge. So remember, vets like us don't quit, we rebuild.